Hello, I just wanted to come to you with some sort of a quick little demo of some pre-work things that you can do in order to get ready for the class on Saturday. So, a couple of things. On the supplies list, you will see certain things that I suggest you get. One of them is one of the most important things outside of the acrylic paint, which you can get in like little tubes like this, or you can get in bottles. You can get in other sorts of tubes. It doesn't matter how it comes, just as long as you have some acrylic paint. And then I talk about substrate, which is basically what it is you're going to be making your acrylic pours on. So here I have a small one. It's 4x4. Quite frankly, it's not. Oops, sorry. I have a 4x4. Quite frankly, it's not big enough to do an acrylic pour on. This is a bubble card that I was making. So that when I do a certain thing, then I color it in a petal to show myself that I've done it. This is a porcelain tile. This is 6x6. This isn't a bad size, actually. You could probably do 2 or 3 acrylic pours during the workshop in this amount of time. What you will use to treat this initially is this. Isopropyl with like 99% is ideal. It'll clean it really, really well. If you can't find the 99%, usually you have to find it in the pharmacy department. You could get the 70%, which isn't bad. It's just easier if you can get the 99%. And for the difference in cost, it's not very much. And this will you'll also be able to use this and create some cells if you want to do the second type of acrylic pour workshop we're going to be doing. The 70% doesn't work as well. So yes, you've got a ceramic tile, which is just a basic tile like this, okay? You can also do an 8x8 canvas. This is a particularly thin canvas. It's by Artist Loft. I think I got it at Michael's. Pretty sure I got it at Michael's. And this is 8x8, and this is kind of, in my mind, the ideal size, because you'll be able to have the paint move around enough and be able to see certain things happen. And barring that, and it's also, especially for your first ones, it's easier to work on a square than it is on a rectangle. So this is a rectangle. This is like probably 9x13, I think, thereabouts. I didn't measure it, but it's approximate. And because it's rectangular, what'll happen is you put your paint sort of in the middle, and then of course the sides will flow very easily, but the rest of it you're going to have to sort of tip and move around, which can give you some interesting things. But I think for your first pour, it's just easier to work on a square if you can. If you have rectangular stuff already, do not worry about going out and getting square. It won't matter that much, in all honesty. It's just one little tiny little extra step, which is no big deal particularly. Now I talked about sort of having squeeze bottles. And this is an example of a squeeze bottle. And this squeeze bottle happens to have some markings on it, which I like, just because it makes measuring easy, because it's already on the bottle. If you don't have one that has markings on it, if it's just plain, then don't worry about it. It still works. We'll just do the measuring ahead of time. And some of the stuff we don't even have to measure because it's all about the consistency. And that's what I wanted to show you next. Oh, hold on now. I thought I had everything ready, but I don't. So, I'm just going to grab so I'll grab this little tiny mixing cup for a second. So I'm just going to show you what the consistency would be like. So this is, you can buy paints that are already, like acrylic paints that are already ready for pouring. This is called a pre-mixed pouring paint. It could be pouring experience. It could be, depends on the brand. They call them different things, but basically pouring is in the title. Excuse me. And these are already at a consistency that's good for pouring. For most techniques. Some techniques you may need to thin it out a bit further even. trying to get it so it focuses for you. There you go. And I don't even know what brand this is. This came in a kit that had 3 or 4 different ones together. And what I'm going to do is show you what this hasn't been used, so I'm just going to take off the seal. Just put that over the side. Sorry for the crinkling sound. I have paper down already on my workspace because I make messes. And I just give it a little bit of a shake because you don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf or in your studio, as the case may be. So I just give it a bit of a shake. Now, generally I would do this the night before and then give it time to settle so there aren't a whack of bubbles and stuff in it. But I just want to show you, and hopefully this will focus. There we go. So when you pour this in, do you see how it doesn't make any little hills when you pour? It just literally pours in and doesn't do anything at all. Now I'm going to show you, if I was to pour in, somewhere where I don't knock it over. If I was to pour in, well, I won't even pour really. But let's say, for example, I was going to use out. I'll stuff it in a bag. I want to grab this. I want to grab one that's a little bit bigger, a bit wider. And this size comes with a lid. So when I mix it up, I can just. But let's just say I'm going to use this acrylic paint here. When I put this into the, see how it just sits there, right? It's really thick. And that's not the consistency. That will not pour, obviously, at all. So what you have to do is you have to mix up a pouring medium that'll go with it. And so to do that, this is why I suggested that you get some Elmer's glue, because this is one of the most inexpensive ways to do it. Now because I do this a lot, or I will be doing this a lot. I bought a great big huge bottle of it. You don't have to buy a big bottle like this. If you find that you're gonna, you really enjoy this and you want to do more of it, then it, might be worth your while. But at this point in time, like 16 ounces will do you a fair amount. So you're going to take the Elmer's Glue All and basically, the other thing is I have these mixing cups. Now, these mixing cups are about 8 ounces. You can see that there, hopefully. And again, it's easier just because it's measured, but it's not a big deal if it's just a plain cup. You can get it like a red Solo cup if you wanted to. They're maybe a little bit bigger than what you need, unless you're going to make up a lot of something. Now, that would be good for the glue because you do have to make up a fair amount of the pouring medium. And I'm just going to pour this in. And then I'm going to add in some water. So this is just plain water right from the tap. It has this nice little cap that I can pull off and snaps back on. And what you're going to do is basically you're going to add a little bit of water, not a lot. Okay, like you can't even see. I can't really show you, but I mean, it didn't even register down to the bottom of the measuring thing there. And you're just going to mix it. You're going to mix it like this. It's going to go all glommy. And you can see that when I pull this up, and then you have to mix it a lot longer than this, but you can see as I pull it up, see how it still makes little puddles? It's not, you get little, they call mountains sometimes. That's not the same consistency that you want for your thing. So I'm just going to mix it up a little bit more, just to make sure the water is well incorporated into that. But I know I have to add more water. I know that, without a shadow of a doubt, right? Definitely. So there's a couple of things about paints that you should know. That might be a little bit too much water. I carried away there. So here's the thing you need to know about paints. Paints are made up of pigment, okay? And certain paints have more pigment than others. And what that means is that it'll make it a thicker paint. Generally speaking, white paints are quite thick. Okay, this is better. Not quite there yet. Still making a tiny bit of a mountain. I'm just going to stir it up a little bit more because I can see that there's a bit of water still sitting on the top of it. I may not need much more water than this. This is why I like to have a larger cup, because even though I've only filled it halfway, by the time when you're stirring it around, I think just a tiny bit more. Yeah, so some things you can't sort of say, oh, I just need X amount of water. It's a 2-to-1 ratio or that kind of a thing, because some paints you will need more water for. And you'll be able to tell, once you start to do this a few times, you'll be able to tell sort of what the consistency is that you need to do, you need to add. A tiny bit more. So you want the same sort of idea that happened with the pouring paints, right? There's no mountains being made at all. There we go. That's pretty much just pouring right in there. It's not making any mountain at all. It's just direct pour. Now it's got a little bit of chunkiness to it still. So I'm just gonna stir it up a bit better. Make sure you get right around the corners. The corners. It's around, but right around the edges of the cup, and especially around the bottom, where the glue tends to settle. Yeah, and that's a good consistency there. It's not making any, there's no mound stain on the top of it at all. It's literally just dropping right into the, and flowing well. So this is like this is a pouring medium. Oh, and it still needs to be, you can, I don't know if you can see it in this light, like on these angles, but you can tell a little bit because I can see the water reflecting on the top. See there, especially on this side. So that tells me it's just not quite stirred enough. Should be good there, I think. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this pouring medium into this yellow paint here. And generally, you do go 2-to-1. I'm just going to use the same stick. And you can see how it's going like all glommy, right? I'm actually going to sit down while I do this. Because it is harder on my back. Oops. And okay, let's stay right where I am. I'll be centered in the camera. So it just takes a little bit more stirring time. I can see just from looking at it that there's all kinds of white all glommed around, so it just really needs to be stirred well without throwing it down all over the table. This particular, oops, I forgot there's glue partway through. This particular cup isn't all that great because it's got a ridge in the bottom. So the glue sunk right to the bottom, of course, and is filling that hole. So I'm just going here and just trying to get it so that it's all mixing in well. I'd show you, except that I'll end up pouring it out. So just make sure that whatever container you're using, especially if it has ridges, that you get right down into the edges of it. And then in mixing, same thing. So you want to check, so you can see how that's still, just stand up so I can make sure you see it okay. You see how right, it's still sitting on the top there. So I need more medium. Now hopefully this isn't going to be too small of a container. So I just add in more medium. And then I mix some more. I may have to pour this into a larger cup. It's my fault because I wasn't thinking when I poured out the yellow that of course I was going to have to mix it some more. This is why I say it's a good idea to have, 4 to 6 ounce cups. So I am literally going to pour this into one of these cups. So this is the part that you can have done ahead of time if you have time. It'll give us a chance to get more pouring done. You can do this like the day before. You don't have to do that morning or anything. It doesn't have to be that fresh. You could do it, had we started this 2 weeks ago, you could have done this 2 weeks ago, this part. I'm just going to put a lid on that for now just to keep that wet because I might use that again down the road. Okay, so I need more pouring medium. That's probably going to be enough now. And again, I just mix it up. You'll notice that it's not, even though I'm adding this white sort of glue stuff to it, it's not really losing its color, right? It's still keeping that vibrant yellow. It's not becoming a super pale yellow or anything. It's much faster this way too. There's no lip in the bottom. It's just a smooth bottom. So a little bit hard to tell because I've got all these bubbles built up into it. I'm going to need, I'll just show you. I need just a tiny bit more, and I'll show you why. Hopefully you can see this. See, you can still see a little bit of a, not much, just a little bit. It's still sitting there on the top a little tiny bit. Oops. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. What you're doing is you're looking at the surface of the paint, not what's on the stick. Okay, so I just want a small amount more, not a lot. So I've got approximately 2 ounces in there, and I'm not even going to put an ounce in there. I'm just going to put like a dollop. Like that's probably plenty right there. Now, when you're doing your pour, you probably won't even need this much paint, unless you're going to do more than one pour. There we go. I'm still going to mix this up a little bit longer, but yeah. So basically that, actually get to a tiny bit more. Tiny bit more. So people wonder, why can't you just add water to the acrylic paint? And it's because it's a water-based paint. And so it's not going to, absorb, it's not going to mix properly at all. There we go. It's better. I'm still going to mix this up a tiny bit more because I want to make sure it's really well. And you really want it to be a runny, consistency, because you want it to be able to flow well over your canvas. Okay, and then what I would do is I'll just take a bottle and I'll pour this in there. And then what I'll do is I'll label the bottle with masking tape, or these particular bottles came with a sort of a chalkboardy type sticker thing I can put on it. Oops. And I can label it. And then I will actually label this. I will label this Liquitex Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue, because that's what this is. And that way I know if I need more of this paint, which one to go for. Because the Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue from Liquitex Basic is going to be different than the Cadmium Deep Hue from Liquitex Professional, which will be different from Golden, which will be different from, Artist Loft, so on and so forth. So they'll all be slightly different. So if you want the exact same color into a piece, then you want to add the same. Okay, so that's basically what you need to do. Now, the only other thing that I'm going to suggest before you start is that when you're working with a canvas, you get a primer of some sort. Now, what you're going to actually want is a sealant. So I have this gloss medium. It's a general purpose acrylic fluid. This one happens to be a gloss. You can get matte. I don't have a matte one right handy to show you, but it's just a difference in the label. It's not a big deal either way. And all it does is it seals so this is unsealed. And this one, excuse the markings on it, and this one is sealed. And what will happen is that impurities will stop coming through. Now, I wouldn't worry about this for this particular thing. This is the very first time we're doing this. We're just playing around. You know, this is not a piece that we're going to put in the Smithsonian. So it's a step. I put it in the, you know, if you want to get some, you can, but you don't have to for this particular exercise. But moving forward, if this is something you're going to do, you're going to want to seal your canvases or your boards or anything that's going to let impurities come through into the paint. And like I say, you want to clean your, if you use a tile or something that's not porous, you're going to want to clean it with your isopropyl 99% rubbing alcohol. The only other thing that I'm going to tell you is when you go to seal your canvas, you're basically going to go all in one direction. You're going to pour some gloss medium or some medium on there, and then you're just going to take your brush. You're going to go all in one direction like this, and then you're going to pour a little bit more on there. You know, just wait maybe 5 minutes. Pour a little bit more on there. Then you're going to go this way. You're going to do that twice. You're going to go this way. You're going to go this way. You're going to go this way. And you're going to go this way. Okay, so basically you're putting 4 coats on there. It dries really quickly in between. I like to get these cheap, they're kind of like a hockey brush, but they're not really. They're synthetic. They're cheap. I don't really care about them per se. This one's been sitting in water, as you can see, it's a little bit too high, rusted a bit. I don't really care. I can still use it for this. Because I'm only going to use the edges of the top. I'm not going to use, I'm not putting paint up to here or anything. I just want to take the tip with it. Here's another brush, similar sort of a style. Right, this is a 3-inch synthetic Chinese brush. Same thing, right? If you can't find those, you know, something like this will work too. It just will take you a bit longer because you got to go over it that many more strokes. So that's why I like the wider brushes for it. But buy them cheap because you will go through them fairly quickly. I don't buy expensive brushes. For this kind of stuff, I don't buy expensive brushes at all. Okay, so that's it. Those are sort of the pre-stages of things. And yeah, just make sure you label your bottles if you've got them in bottles, or if you have them in cups. You can see like you want one a bigger cup than this one. And yeah, like 6 ounces is a good size cup. 8 ounces is better, but you don't necessarily need 8 ounces unless you're going to get into bigger pours. In which case you can have bigger bigger cups, big solo cups down the road, that kind of thing. Okay, so if you have any questions, just email me at brenda@dabbleanddo.com, brenda@dabbleanddo.com, or just send me a Facebook Messenger message or whatever, and I will see those. I'll probably see Messenger actually faster than my email, and I'm more than happy to go over anything with you, to check something for you if you want to double check to see if your consistency is good. If you have any questions, if you have any problems signing in, hopefully by the time if you're getting this, you've been able to sign into everything. But if you're having problems with anything at all, again, just message me, and yeah, we'll go through it together. And I'm really looking forward to Saturday. We're gonna have lots of fun, and yeah. All right, take care. Bye.